Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I have done it twice in a row. I feel like fucking legend. I'm not going to lie. Hello, welcome back. We are talking election politics, electoral politics again on another episode of Tomorrow versus the Void. And today on the Void, we are going to be discussing the Australian Electoral Commission has used advice after the Prime Minister appeared on a co-authored Instagram post with social media personality Abby Chatfield. I am getting so pissed off about social media and this election, to be honest. It's not working for me. It's not gelling for me. I'm trying to get on board with it, but I'm not enjoying it at all. Can someone explain to me why suddenly we've got our politicians appearing on podcasts? For years and years and years, people have been telling me that the reason I don't know so much about politics, the reason that I should keep my mouth shut about politics is because, I'm just this social media person, even though I'm not. Like, that's not actually what I do as my main focus. It's just what I happen to do when you're all seeing me. I still get a lot of people who are sort of saying, oh, you don't even know what you're talking about, so you should not say anything at all. It's like, okay, so why have we got people who literally made their claim? My background is in politics. I studied politics, economics, and philosophy. I studied criminology. I studied legal theory. I'm currently doing a master's in political communication. So specifically talking about people who have, hello, very good day to you. So specifically talking about people who have that kind of background, that kind of knowledge, to have me constantly being shut down and told to shut up because I don't have, and I'm never going to, just FYI, Adam Bandt is never going to agree to let me interview him. Fucking Dutton is never, ever going to, there is no hope. On God's green earth, I don't get offers from sponsorships. I don't get, because my whole focus is about education. And unfortunately, a lot of these political influencers, especially social media influencers, built up their influence first on completely unrelated topics and have then pivoted into politics. And I actually feel like I was making a video about this a while ago that I then threw out because I got a bit worried about what it was going to look like. But I was talking about this a while ago, and I made the comment that I think it's our fault. I think it's us as social media users. It's our fault. We years ago started telling people who had platforms that they should speak up about these issues that affect us. Yeah, they are. They're fucking clout chasers, absolutely. But we started telling them, you've got a platform, you should speak up about this shit. We were asking people who had no fucking clue what was going on to become spokespeople on really important issues. And I think because for so many of us, getting a platform is just so impossible. It seems so impossible to do. Like, Greta Thunberg is once in a generation. That's not going to happen for everybody. It seems like the best way to do it is to build a platform first and then pivot. But if you don't already have the interest in politics and you're just doing it because there's an election coming up and it's going to get you views because it's what people are talking about, you are going to end up spreading misinformation. I have had so many people spreading misinformation in my comment section that I'm constantly trying to correct because they're getting information from Sky News is giving misinformation about this election. There is so much misinformation going on around this election, and it is really fucking concerning me because this may be the last election where we actually have the chance to make real change because our major parties are trying to make it more difficult for independents and more minor parties to run. So they are trying to enshrine a two-party system into our democracy, and we need to start putting minor parties and independents in those first box spots so we can send some support their way, just so they aren't going to be completely crushed out the way that the major parties want them to be. I hate that Abby is placed as the all-knowing influencer. I'm so done. I don't want to hear about it anymore. I don't want to hear anyone talk to me about Abby anymore. I mean, you can, obviously, you can, but everyone else, I am so sick of people saying to me, why don't you do what Abby's doing? Because I have no interest in being Abby. I don't want to be fucking Abby. Like, when I started my podcast, it was talking about the bullshit that happens in politics and the ways, if anyone wants to know what I actually talk about when I talk about politics, go and check out the Two Girls, One Garbage Pan podcast. We're on a bit of a break at the moment. But if you look at my videos and the ones that I host on there, the ones where I've written it, you will see over and over and over again what I'm talking about is people in politics that we put in positions of power fucking up in abhorrent ways. Like, doing things so abhorrent. And you're like, how did they get away with this? Because back in the day we didn't have, now we were able to look into this and find out about it. But back in the day we couldn't. But it happened so long ago. Like, the amount of dodgy bullshit that has happened in our politics, in state politics, in federal politics. Yeah, you don't need to, Tom. Don't even worry about it. You don't need to. Misinformation madness. Yes, absolutely. And one of the really, and feel free as well to, like, if you are on TikTok, like the live for me, just to make sure I don't get banned from TikTok, because that does happen from time to time. If I do get banned from TikTok, guys, and you want to keep going with the conversation, we are on other places, so feel free to come and join us on there. If you, just in case this goes down, just in case it goes down because it might, that could happen. But one of the things that's really pissing me off at the moment is we're having this whole discussion around trade wars. Okay. And that's what I wanted to jump on here and talk to about, mainly because my friends were asking me why I didn't talk about China yesterday. And I was like, I don't know. It didn't seem like the most important thing in the world, but now maybe it does. I don't know. One of the things that really frustrates me whenever we talk about trade wars is people act as though placing embargoes, having trade wars or anything of that nature is less catastrophic to a populace than actually engaging in hot war, all-out warfare. Like, we've got Cold War, we have trade wars, and then we have hot war, which is when bullets are firing and bombs are being dropped. And what I find really disconcerting about this conversation is that what we know from all of our time looking back at the way that these things have gone through the last couple of centuries when we've had them, is that that's not the case. Trade wars and embargoes have a much more devastating effect on the people and the populace within a community than sometimes even a hot war can have. Because unlike with a hot war where you can avoid certain areas where perhaps, you might be able to move, you might be able to avoid it, there might be things you can do. With a Cold War, with a trade war, you are stuck with the effects that have been imposed on you by other governments, not even your own government, imposing them on you that are affecting your very life. Now, one of the really difficult things about talking about China and the US, people have this idea that because China's an authoritarian government, that means that the government of China gets to do whatever they want whenever they want. And so, and Trump, the US being a democracy are the ones who are, tied by what they can do. But actually the opposite is true. And this is why this trade war is shaping up to be catastrophic in so many different ways. Because for Donald Trump, he has the authority of having been elected. So he has this authority that we've all given to him because of the norms that we have in our society. So much of our society is based on norms, and people don't. I know I'm just giving a lecture now, but I don't know how long I'm going to be able to be on here today. And so I figured I'd come on and give a bit of a lecture and then pass out in bed. But so much of our government, so much of our day-to-day lives is established by norms and the way that, we normalize things that happen. It's why when Scott Morrison decided to have himself sworn into 5 different cabinet positions, everyone went, what the fuck? Because that's just not something you do. There wasn't a law against it. There wasn't a rule saying you couldn't do it because it was something no one would ever fucking do. The norm was just, you don't fucking do that. So we didn't need to have something to stop people doing it because you just don't. All right. And there are so many norms. And because of the way our society's become so much more individualist, those norms have been being broken down and shattered completely. One of the norms that we have that Donald Trump did a really great job of trying to shatter was the idea that if you got voted and you got elected, that gave you the authority to do whatever you wanted. He obviously with the 2020 fucking January 6th insurrection really did a number on that one, tried to. But now we can hear the rhetoric changing, where he's talking about how he has a mandate and how he won the overwhelming popular support and he's changing that rhetoric because he's trying to reinstill the norm that because he was elected, he has the power to do whatever he wants. And this is why what you see in the US with their politicians is often a lot more self-serving than authoritarian presidents and prime ministers and things, because in those organizations, for example, in China, the CCP has a mandate to continue growing that economy. And one of the things Xi Jinping has been really terrified about is that a downturn in China's economy weakens his strength as a leader. His strength as a leader doesn't come from the vote. It doesn't come from people. It comes from the strength of China as a country and from their economy. So if he doesn't have that, his whole government is a lot less stable. His government is in a lot less stable position. So actually what we're dealing with is Trump really is acting in more of an authoritarian way than Xi Jinping is throughout this trade war. And now he's talking about imposing 104% tariffs on China. You do always ask about China, Amy, and I appreciate you asking about China because there's always been to talk about with China. Now, I did do my Vote Compass results last night, and I actually did want to pop it up. Actually, let me see if I can pop it up on here as a blue screen for you guys so you can see it. I don't know if I can. I'm just going to pop it up because I did want to be very open when I was talking about, misinformation madness. Absolutely, Al. I did want to be really open about where my political leanings are when I was having these discussions throughout this election campaign. I did the same thing at the last election campaign. For anyone who wasn't following me at that time, I always had my vote compass in the background so that people understood where I sat politically speaking while I was talking about these things. I'm not trying to convince anybody of who they should vote for. I just want people to be a lot more informed about what they're voting for, because I have people who say to me things like they believe we should. For example, they believe women's healthcare, abortion should be a lot more easily accessible. We had a discussion about that yesterday. And they won't realise that the Labor Party agrees, as does the Greens, but One Nation and Liberal think it should be less accessible. People don't realise that because it's not something that gets talked about all over the country, because it really is only a massive issue over in Queensland at the moment, which it has become a massive issue recently. And I'm sorry, I don't want to keep talking about that. Really, I know it's a very, very sensitive subject for a lot of people. But the point is that people will often be voting against their own best interests simply because they don't really understand. When the politicians are talking about policies and things, they're not really sure how those policies fit in with their daily lives. I did a really good lesson last year talking about fully costed policies. At the last election, we had a lot of fully costed policies, and people kept saying, yeah, but how is it going to work? How's it going to work? And I was trying to explain to people, because I've worked for these government contracts, okay? When you have a fully costed policy, they come up with a plan that they're going to set up an organisation that's going to do it. This is what happened with the Thrive program, as an example. They say, we're going to set up a program, for example, that's going to help people to maintain their homes so they're not losing their homes. Okay, we will have that abortion chat, definitely. Absolutely, we have to. It's why I ask what Trump's end goal is, because I'm not smart enough to work it out. I think Trump's end goal is actually to tank the economy so he can buy up and make more money for himself. That is, a weak economy does make good business sense for a businessman. It just doesn't for the everyday people living in it, which is why when people say he's going to run the country like a business, I kept saying that is a very bad idea. Countries should not be run like businesses. And anyone who has actually studied politics, economics, and philosophy can tell you that running the way that our economy under capitalism, a system I don't adhere to, is designed, is that the government is supposed to act as a check and balance in order to ensure that things stay stable. Okay, because things will not stay stable if you just let business do whatever the fuck it wants. All right, oh god, we're talking about so many different things now. I know. We will definitely have that abortion chat. But when you talk about running what's supposed to happen is when the economy shrinks and businesses get scared, that's when the government is supposed to step in to help stimulate things, to try and help, because this up and downs, swing and downs is inherently built into the capitalist system. Like the ups and downs, the troughs and trolley, the hills and valleys are built into the system. And so under Adam Smith's advising, under Smith's devising, there was going to be this other arm that was going to assist to ensure that when things went down, we could sort of balance it out so that, we could keep things fairly stable. That balancing keeps being seen as a bad thing. We should, we're spending way too much money. It's like, we're actually not. There's way too much money going out the other side to the businesses. What we need to do is get some of that back in, which is where taxes and things come back in. Taxes would be the number one way to fix the American economy so easily. Same with Australia. We need a massive tax overhaul in Australia. I know that's not the most popular thing to say, but I would be a massive fan of a massive, huge tax overhaul in this country, just as a start, just as a jumping off point. Just saying. If you wanted to, that would be a really good way to balance it. But when you have someone who wants to run the country like a business, then what they're doing is they're looking for business opportunities. They're not looking to increase the health of the country. They're not looking to answer problems. They're looking for business opportunities, ways that they can make money. And the ways that you make money when you have a large consumerist population, and this is the thing too, America's population has been built up to be consumers. That is their job in the world global economy. That isn't something that we did to them. That is something that they did. And so trying to now withdraw their buying power from the economy in order to try and wrestle back some of that control, it's only going to hurt themselves. It really is only going to hurt themselves. Oh, Lily, hello. I saw your photo over in Melbourne. I'm very jealous. It's okay. I'll try and get over it. Maybe you should teach us about tax again, Tam. These people don't understand. My favorite conversation that I have with people is people want to talk about the reasons that we should have less taxes and things. And every time we come back to it, I like to remind people that I can spend $2 at a school and have it literally not mean anything. And the government could spend $2 at that school and it would mean a hell of a lot more. And it's not just because of the buying power of the $2, it's because of the buying power of the government has behind it. So any money in my pocket is doing a hell of a lot less benefit for our community in general than it would be doing in the hands of the government's pocket. This is why we have Medicare and we don't have private health funds, because the government is able to negotiate and get much better deals and much better rates and organise a much better cost-benefit ratio for us than we could as individuals. That is why we need governments for certain things. So I would much rather the government have that $2 to spend on medicine rather than saying to me, well, we'll give you that $2 and you can spend it on medicine. Because, or like, let's say $6 for my scripts. They say to me, we're going to pay for the scripts or whatever, because they are able to do a lot more with that dollar than what we are. And people will sit there and go, yeah, but I need $500 so I can get my tires fixed. It's like, yes, but instead of having, and again, this is why I go back to everyone gets a house, because if we at least took care of everyone's base needs, it would be a lot easier for people to understand. But when you are struggling so hard day to day just to afford groceries, an extra $5 in the bank can be the difference between eating well and not. Me being gluten intolerant at the moment, going through chemotherapy, I have been struggling so much, so much. Gluten-free bread, hugely expensive. Been trying to make it myself. It's very hard to make gluten-free bread. I don't know if you guys realize. But it's like an extra $3 a loaf for gluten-free versus the gluten-filled shit. And that does make a difference at the end of the week to the grocery. So I'm not at all saying that, you don't know what to do with $2. I'm just saying that you can only buy one loaf of bread for $2, whereas the Australian government can do a lot more with that $2. And that is without even talking about the fact that all we have to do is get rid of the negative gearing loopholes for property investors in this country, and we could literally fix homelessness. But the government doesn't want to, because our entire economy is backed by our housing stock. So, yeah, we fucked our economy. We did it really good. Let me have a look. Don't date men when someone asks for advice. Oh, it's not about controlling nipples, it's about controlling women. Instant follow. Thank you, Revised Edition. Thank you. Thank you, Terry G. I am proud of me too. Yeah, so if anyone doesn't know what that comment was about, I actually had a gentleman make a post on my page the other day asking why I wasn't appropriately dressed because I wasn't wearing a top. Now, I am topless. I do not have breasts. I do not have breast tissue. I do not have nipples. So explain to me why someone would feel the need to be upset by seeing my exposed skin. I just made me so angry. Made me so angry. God almighty. Go away, caller. Someone's trying to call me. I don't need that. You can go away. Anywho. Oh no, skin. I know. Particularly this strip of skin. What's going to happen? I will say my kids do ask me to cover it up sometimes because they're not very keen on seeing mummy's scars. They get a little bit, yes, any excuse to show off my top surgery. Absolutely. They do get a little bit intimidated seeing the scars. But yeah, so this is one of the reasons why I was so keen to run this election, because really I just wanted to be able to have these conversations with people. And I didn't mind in the last election. I, obviously homeless at the time. It's amazing, isn't it, how every 3 years just shit throws you in the heap. So 3 years ago I was homeless living in a tent. Today, I'm dealing with breast cancer. And this is the point. Your life, you have no fucking idea what's coming down the pathway. And so to sit here and say everybody should just be able to take care of themselves and individualism is the way to go is just so fucking short-sighted. It's just ridiculously short-sighted. I try to think of the government as super inefficient and it costs them way more to do the same. Can you give me the counterpoints? Yeah, absolutely. So it absolutely costs them a lot more to do the same because of the way they have set up certain organisations. For example, the Thrive program I was talking about earlier, they outsource that to another organisation that they pay to engage in that Thrive program. Now, there are good and bad parts to that. For a start, having an outside organisation as a support for people who are engaging in community services means that they have an outside perspective to help them with things. So I wasn't working for Department of Housing, but I was working under the Thrive banner, which did make things a little bit difficult. And that's actually one of the reasons why I disagreed with the way the program was run and I left. But the main thing is that if we didn't have conglomerates, if we didn't have multiple organizations, I would 100% be like, "No, we don't need." I'm an anarchist at heart. I'm not. This is why I like to show my vote compass. I'm not a believer in big government. It's probably the most right wing idea that I have, is that if we actually want solutions that are going to help service our community, then those solutions need to come from community. What we need is a government who's going to support communities to instill the solutions that they need, that are going to best serve those people of that place. However, in saying that, we don't have a system where communities are able to negotiate with Roy Hill to organise for mining rights and things. We have a situation where we've got multinational corporations who have huge amounts of money, who are able to railroad people, who are able to I would love to get rid of government, but I want to get rid of all the corporations first, basically. And while we have the inefficiencies of huge corporations and conglomerates controlling most of our supply, and even, I just want to also say this, we are not free. We do not have democracy. We are economically in an authoritarian regime, much more authoritarian than some other countries we like to think of as authoritarian, because one of the points that I think keeps getting missed about severance, and I know I'm skipping around a lot now, one of the things, vote comes confessional, yes. One of the things, I'm voting for myself because I'm running, I am. In severance, if they leave the job, they die. They don't even know what they're doing. They don't love the job. They hate the job. They don't even know what's going, like, it's a fucking mind fuck in there. But if they lose that job, they die. And so at the end of severance, he decides not to leave because he doesn't want to die. That's what this system is doing to us. If we don't participate, we die. That doesn't sound like democracy. That doesn't sound like a choice. Imagine if they said if you didn't vote, you would die. We would all very, very quickly and very clearly see that that is not a democracy. That's not the kind of environment that we all want to live in. But we have that because of the way that we've structured our economy, and we have to completely restructure our economy if we want to change that. And until we can change that, then we do need a government of some sort in place to be able to negotiate and do those things for us. And as I said, talking about in terms of things like organising, and I think Medicare is the example because it's one of the few where, yes, we have had private companies get involved in our medical system, and they have been, making things a little bit trickier, and getting treatments and things can be a bit tricky sometimes, especially in regional communities. But because of how strongly it is regulated by the government, there is still a lot of protections there for people. And I think we need more of that rather than less. So one of the reasons that it's so inefficient is because, like, the West Australian government is the biggest employer in Western Australia. I'm actually pretty sure the Australian government is the biggest employer in the country. If you talk about all the different governments, like the different state governments and things. We think about that. The largest portion, it could be a lot more efficient. It absolutely could be so much more efficient. No disagreement there. The largest portion of employees work directly for the government, and those same people will turn around and say that they, people who are dole bludgers. It's as if what we're not seeing now, okay, so what America has done, what Donald Trump has done with this trade war, is he is saying to all of the countries of the world who America has been buying from since the 80s, 90s, when they decided that this was the way they were going with neoliberalism, he is saying we are withdrawing our buying power that we have told you all to rely upon. All right, we're going to withdraw that buying power. We're no longer going to be those consumers. But that is literally what they've been set up to be, is consumers, which is why we're having this issue. Like, they're not manufacturing shit, they're consuming shit. They're doing busy work and they're consuming. That is the way we set up our fucking economy. So then when you take away the consumers, things start like crumbling. And this is what people who are like working in these spaces sometimes forget, is that even if someone doesn't have a job where they're working, but they have an income coming in that they're then able to spend, they are doing a hell of a lot of good for our economy just as a consumer because of how we've set up our economy. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying that it's a fact. Facts don't care about my feelings. They don't care about yours either, unfortunately. So if you're trying to say that people are dole bludgers, aren't doing any benefit for our society, you're just absolutely fucking wrong. And the trade war with the US shows that so clearly, because what Donald Trump is upset about is the fact that other people aren't consuming as much of his stuff. He wants people to consume more. But they need more money to be able to do that. And he's trying to take that away because he wants more money for himself as well. But again, he is looking for opportunities to buy it for himself because he's running it like a business rather than as a country. Now, there are inefficiencies built into the system purely because it makes things better for the people with money. I would say that if we could separate government into bureaucracy versus politics, we could have a different discussion. I think if we could actually address the bureaucracy and address the needs in the bureaucracy to make progressive change without the politics of it getting involved, like Dutton coming in saying he's going to scrap 40,000 jobs through retrenchment, through attrition, then we could actually have a discussion about making it more efficient. Absolutely. But while we keep tying bureaucracy to politics so closely the way that we do, again, ignoring the fact that the government is one of the biggest fucking employers we have, and I'm talking about the actual government and not Woodside, then it is just ridiculous. Really. I've kind of lost my thread, what I was saying now. That's all right. I managed to talk for 25 whole minutes without losing my thread. So I figure that's a record. That's a record, I've got to say, really. So, who am I voting for? So I'll be voting for myself. I am running in this election. It could definitely be more fresh. And I think sometimes the thing is as well is I studied public policy when I was at university, and I actually did quite a bit on why certain policies get picked over others and the tricks and things that get used. For example, whether a policy goes to election or not, a lot of it can have to do with the reaction from the public when it gets floated, when the idea gets floated. So they call it red kiting. They'll put an idea out there and wait to see what the public response is before they decide if they're actually going to take it as a policy or not. Scott Morrison did this a lot and got in a lot of trouble for it because it didn't go very well, but it is like a normal part of the sort of process. My girls want to say, I love you. They hope you feel better soon and you're stunning. Oh, Frey. Oh, you're gorgeous. Thank you so much, sweetheart. I am feeling a lot better today. Thank you. And I thank you so much, Tulip. Love you. Thank you so much, Frey. And I really, really appreciate your lovely words. You're very sweet. You're a gorgeous little love. I absolutely love you both. You are so lovely. The public is outrageous, disengaged. Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard not to be disengaged when you feel like every few years you have the same conversation and nothing really changes. But that's one of the reasons why I was like, I'm doing it. I fucking whatever. I'm just gonna throw my hat in the ring and do it. Oh shit, I have actually got. It's all right. I've got a few minutes before I have to go do that. Yeah, the public is outrageously disengaged. Definitely, they are, and it's hard. Here we go. I'm just gonna. There you go. Now I can see those words a bit better. And it's hard. It's hard, especially our government also knows this. They also know that it's a lot harder to pay attention when we have more stress. They know that it's more difficult. And so that they're not really that keen to help us reduce that stress, because the more stressed we are, the harder we have making good decisions for ourselves. And the more likely we are to lean upon what we already know, which is what has already been established. Meaning, for example, September 11 saved John Howard. John Howard was 100% going to lose the 2001 election until September 11 happened. And then suddenly, 2002? Maybe it was 2002. No, I think it was end of 2001. Anyway, suddenly it was going to be a Mark Latham government. Thank goodness it wasn't. Like, we've seen what happened to him. But it was going to be a Latham government. It was 100%. Like, there was absolutely no way that... Was it Latham? No, I don't think it was Latham, actually. I think it was... I forget who it was now. It was the opposition, the Labour opposition. I don't know. Anyway, either way, Frey was like, is that live? Oh my God. I love you, Frey. You're so gorgeous. I started a blog recently that you might enjoy. Oh yes, please send through. Absolutely. I could do with some reading while I'm sitting in the bed. So when we are stressed and we have that kind of pressure, we're more likely to go back to what we know. Like, Howard was on his way out the door because of the Children Overboard scandal, because of all the other shit that had been happening through his, she's fucked off now, no worries. So he was on his way out the door, and then September 11 happened, and fear and the public, wanting stability, they end up just going with what they already know. And that is a part of the reason why I think we are seeing a little bit of a disinterest in doing anything about addressing the stresses of everyday Australians. Oh, yes, absolutely. Oh, I will be very keen. I'll be very, very keen to read that, Tulip. Thank you. Now, I am just going to say, I'm 2 for 2. I got on today. Did you see that? I got on. I told you I was going to, and I did. I feel like that deserves some. Has your cancer speed hump slowed down the commune? A little bit, just a little bit, not much. We haven't slowed down the commune too much. So the really good thing is that by July, I should be all done with treatment. Well, I'm just going to check how I go with remission. I am. Thank you very much. I have been, besides being online and seeing you guys, I've been sleeping a lot. Chemo is very hard on the body. I have got a bit of a lower dose. So, oh, hope you've got lots of support. I do. Thank you so much. And you guys have all been. Corporate class are like, yes. You get any reward you like. Absolutely. You guys have been so supportive. You guys have been so lovely, honestly. And this is part of the reason why I was like, I'm going to jump back on here and start doing lives. You know, even if I could only do it a little bit every day, because honestly, the amount of anxiety that I have felt over this period has just, it's been immense. And all of the love and support that I've had coming from you guys I cannot even tell you how much. Even just a little comments, like even just a little, like it's because there's nothing anyone can do. There's nothing anyone can do. And you know that. You know there's nothing anyone can do. And everyone knows there's nothing they can do. And I've got so many people in my life, you know, like I made the comment before. My mum's telling me to meditate and pray. And I'm like, oh God, meditation and pray isn't going to help me. I have to do chemo. I was devastated you had to have chemo. Me too. I was devastated I had to have chemo too. That was really the thing that devastated me the most. But having all of the kind words and the support and knowing that everybody's, you know, and I think the hardest thing for me was really even accepting that I had cancer, because I was just like, I'm too healthy to have cancer. What are you talking about? Look at me. I feel sicker now than I did like previously, obviously. But we're going to get it all out. I have been, though, the algorithm has been sharing with me a lot of Hank Green's cancer comedy routine. Has anybody seen Hank Green's comedy cancer routine? And he's talking about when you go through chemo, this will help brighten the mood a little bit. He was talking to his doctor and he said, you know, that my pee is really cloudy. And the doctor said, yeah, that's the cancer. And he goes, well, the cancer makes my pee cloudy? And he goes, no, that's literally dead cancer cells making the pee look cloudy. The chemo breaks down the lipids and the fats, gets processed through the body, through your bladder, and comes out in the urine. It's cloudy pee. And Hank Green's just like, you need to be telling people that. Do you know how empowering it is to be pissing out pee and to pissing out cancer and just flushing it down the sewer where it belongs? You need to be advertising to people that I am pissing cancer down the fucking toilet. That is empowering as fuck. And I'm not going to lie, that has helped just a little bit when I've been going to the toilet. Because the other thing is chemo really irritates your bladder. So I'm going to the toilet every half an hour at the moment. Sorry, one sec. Maybe he stopped. It is empowering. That cancer didn't know what it had coming, though. You fought cancer for a living. Yes, the cancer of our politics. Absolutely. Exactly, Tom. No idea what it had coming. It is empowering. It is empowering that it's just breaking it down and I'm flushing, because your pee does get quite foamy. Mine hasn't been too foamy, which is a good sign. It means that it might not be a good sign. I don't know. It could be a good sign. It could mean that there isn't that much in there to break down. Yeah. I saw this so wild. It is, isn't it? Human bodies are insane. And like the doctor said to me, you are going to lose your hair and you are going to have all these other side effects and you are going to have there's going to be all this stuff that fucking sucks about it. But in 2 years' time, you'll be on the other side of this, back, like not nearly necessarily back the way you were before, but feeling pretty good again, and every day I wake up, I keep thinking to myself, today is the best I'm going to feel in a long while. And so I'm going to get every inch out of this day that I can. And that's not the right move for everybody. I'm not going to at all suggest that everybody everybody going through cancer does this. But for me, that's been really helpful, is just thinking today is the best day I'm going to have in a while. And so I want to do something good with this day. I want to feel good about this day. I want to be able to get up and see people. And are you going to be a headscarf girly? I am going to be a headscarf girly. I'm going to be a headscarf girly. I've already got a couple of lovely headscarves, very sort of 40s, 30s style. So I'm thinking, I'll do that. And I've got I've got a couple of nice hats as well with broad rims on them to protect my ears and the back of my neck. Some nice hats. So I'm going to be a headscarf and hat girly. That's going to be me. I just like finding out you breathe out calories. Yeah! Take some nice big deep breaths and you're breathing out calories. I love that. And it is. And even so, the way that chemo works is that it kills fast-growing cells, anything that grows really, really quickly, which includes cancer-growing cells. But it is going to kill other cells as well. So, your hair, for example, that's why that falls out, because they're fast-growing cells. You can have some nerve damage because your nerves are quite fast-growing cells, numbness and tingling. And there's a lot of these unpleasant side effects. But the amazing thing is that our bodies are able to repair themselves. And as long as you're doing all those right things, your body will repair itself. And the cancer is not able to repair itself. So, I'm eating healthy and I'm drinking lots of water and I'm going on walks and I'm just trying to be the healthiest person in the universe right now. And it's working for my mental health as well, because I'm not thinking about how, oh my God, I'm going to feel shit soon. I'm just going, today is the best I'm going to feel in a while. And so I'm going to use this day. Let's do something good with this day. And also letting myself sleep whenever I need to. Absolutely. Oh, thank you so much, Lawrence. I appreciate that. Appreciate your help. Feel free to share any of my content that you enjoy. I really do appreciate it. Ooh, interesting. Oh, sorry, I've just had someone send through a little message to me. How can you ignore that beep? I can't ignore that beep. That's why I was calling out for Adam earlier. He's my carer. I don't know how I'm up already. Yeah, I need to go. Let me go back to the toilet already. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. No more beeping. No more beeping. I promise. No more beeping. So yeah, trade wars. As we started talking about trade wars. So even doing things like embargoes or trade embargoes on things on countries that we're at war with, those sorts of things have a really negative consequence on the people who are living in those countries, which is why, and this is a trade war we absolutely did not need to have. There was absolutely no need for this dick swing competition that these world leaders are currently engaging in. No need for it whatsoever. And we are all going to suffer. Absolutely, we are all going to fucking suffer. There we go. No more beeping. The beeping's gone. I live to serve. I live to serve. So, I did have one little thing I wanted to share with you, because this is fucking hilarious. All right, you ready? Here we go. Here we go. Oh my gosh, I got to edit it because that is not edit. I'm trying to edit. Why is it not letting me edit? This is annoying. Oh, there we go. That's what I needed. Didn't know it was just not doing what it was supposed to be doing. That's fine. Maybe I'll just move me to the other side. There we go. That's a bit better, isn't it? Maybe I'll put myself at the top. There we go. Anywho, so inside a focus group of undecided voters, there is a new series taking viewers inside a focus group where undecided voters display little enthusiasm for Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, nor opposition leader Peter Dutton. I'm sorry, but that just feels like 90% of Australians right now. I just can't for the life of me I can't for the life of me. They won't reindustrialize, but we'll destroy everything. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They're not going to reindustrialize. They're just going to destroy everything. I'm sorry, but that just absolutely makes me laugh so much. Because I do really think that this is how most people feel at the moment. So, the character assessments aren't exactly flattering, and they clearly lay out the problems our political leaders face in winning over swing voters. Moderator Simon Welsh has asked a group of 9 undecided voters for the positives of Anthony Albanese as a leader to a fairly muted response. He's got a cool name. That's about it, says Ned. Ooh! I see a fair few Dutton heads. Oh no, don't tell me that. That is not the news I wanted to hear. It's like picking between thrush and chronic UTI. Oh my God. Yeah, peeing out cancer. Way to go. It is. It's like picking between thrush and a chronic UTI. That is exactly what this federal election is like, which is why you don't have to pick either of them. You don't have to pick either of those fuck nuts. Look, to be honest, I don't have much information to form an opinion, says another. Oh. Others think that with the Prime Minister's background growing up in social housing, he understands what life is like for everyday Australians. Oh my gosh. Okay. Anthony Albanese's background of growing up in social housing, can I just explain, is just like any Australian youth today growing up in a rental. He wasn't like from the bottom 1% or anything. He grew up in a rental property during a time in our country when our government took the responsibility for most of those rentals. It wasn't until the 90s. It wasn't until the 90s that John Howard, when fucking Albo was already doing his degree, it wasn't until actually working in politics by then. It wasn't until the 90s that Howard decided to hand over the responsibility of providing housing to private interests, to private owners. So Anthony Albanese didn't grow up in lower socioeconomic housing. He grew up in a fucking rental property. He grew up in a fucking rental property. Ah! The rest of my electorate are just hemorrhoids, though. Yeah, that's true too. Oh, I'm sorry. But that line about him constantly using that about the fact that he grew up in social housing. Social housing was so much easier to get back then. I went on the wait list for social housing being homeless and had to wait an entire fucking year when I was literally homeless, emergency housing, and I had to find a private rental because I just couldn't find any social housing. I had to find a private rental. And then we ended up losing the private rental a year later because of no fault eviction. And that's what I said to them. I said, if you guys had found us social housing, I wouldn't have been homeless twice in the space of 2 years. And well, but you were able to find a private rental yourself. And there are lots of people out there who aren't able to do that. It's like, but it doesn't matter. I'm still housing insecure because private rentals are not set up for tenants. They're set up for owners because that's what John Howard wanted. Same with all the fucking liberal cunts. Oh, my fuck. Oh, my fuck. I fucking hate. See, I'm not exactly a believer in big government, but the Liberal Party want big government. They want small, expensive government. They want small, expensive government. That's not the same as small government. They want expensive government that they get to fucking control. And it just makes me so angry. Anthony Albanese grew up in a rental property. He didn't grow up in fucking, like, ugh. Bro, everyone knows you're not self-made. Exactly. You're not fucking self-made. Stop pretending you're self-made. You grew up in a rental property. You grew up in a rental property. In today's day and age, there is so few social housing that I have no doubt that he wouldn't have qualified for social housing if it was today. There's a kid who is living in worse conditions than Anthony Albanese grew up in who doesn't qualify for social housing. So every time anyone mentions this, it just makes my head want to fucking explode. Anyway. I don't think all that aggression was very good for my tummy. Yes, his degree was free. Yes, Anthony Albanese did not have a HECS. He got a free degree. And in fact, yep. Free housing, well, not free housing, but social housing, degree, all without any of the stresses that most of the people in this country face. And one of the big problems, I have known people, like when I was homeless, I've been homeless. I know people who were homeless who've then managed to get their own home who say, well, if I can do it, anyone can. And I'm sitting here going, I was homeless and I'm now living in the home that I own. And I look around sometimes and go, how the fuck did I do that? How the fuck did this happen? How am I now sitting in my lounge room that I own? I can pick the colours on the wall. When 3 years ago at the last election, the last time the election was announced, I was homeless. That is not possible. That is like, they're going to write a movie about me. I am literally like, and then you turn around and tell people like, it is not, if it was possible, we wouldn't have any homeless people. Because the number one reason that people reject social housing isn't because they don't want a house. It's because they don't want to be controlled by the fucking government who put all these rules and restrictions on it because they don't have enough social housing. See, back in the day, it didn't used to be like it was today because they had plenty of it. Like, you didn't have to literally be on your bare bones dead before you could apply for social housing back in the day. That has changed as a result of the way we started dealing with people in low socioeconomic situations in this country. And even if you look back as late, like if you look at the 60s and 70s, older Australians were saying that we shouldn't be doing this. Older Australians were saying that, you know, we should provide housing to people. But then they worked out that they could make a whole fuck ton of money if we didn't. And that's when the fucking tune changed in the 80s and 90s. Oh, I'm so tired of being told it's all my fault all the time. Exactly. Joke's on him because I've forgiven my own student debt because it's never getting paid. Yes, I've said the same thing, Tulip. I'm going to die with that HECS debt unpaid simply because I can't afford to pay it. No malice intended. It's just never getting fucking paid. Yeah, and even if he did grow up in social housing, he's clearly still a cunt and didn't learn shit. I will say, and this is one of the reasons why I was actually quite happy with when I did my Vote Compass last night, I will say the Labor Party has moved further to the left, especially economically speaking, since Anthony Albanese was made the leader. So they were at the last election, they were right next to the coalition as far as the left and right, you know, on the political spectrum was economically speaking. Socially, the Labor Party were always a little bit more left, but economically speaking, they were in the same fucking quadrant as the Liberal Party. Since Anthony Albanese has taken over as the leader of the Labor Party, they have moved to become more progressive economically speaking, though not like, we're not going to like start handing out awards. It's barely anything. I'm just saying they're at least going in the right direction. I would still say absolutely, like, don't put him any more than like third on your ballot. I hope you have at least 2 left-wing candidates you can vote for before the Labor candidate in your electorate. I don't know if anyone's going to be that lucky in this election, to be honest. I'll never pay it off. I thought I had, but I was still low income. It didn't go. Oh, yep, sure do get indexed every year. Absolutely. They were more centrist than left. Yeah, I mean, I would say socially they're definitely, yeah, I'd say they are definitely, but I'm saying they've moved more. Haven't even seen who the Greens candidate is. Hopefully you've got one. All of them should be in by now. I mean, they will be. They'll definitely all be in by now. So, it's how I feel about literally everything at this point. Yep. They'll be forced to forgive it eventually. Yeah. I mean, in all honesty, when you pass, they'll be forced to forgive it. I honestly, if I was told that I was like terminal, I would first thing I'd be doing is going and signing up for all of the different uni courses, rack up a huge debt before I pass just to stick it to the government. Lizzie, hey! I'm in public housing. It's being left to deteriorate so they can sell it as social housing. Yes. Yeah. And you know what else? I will just say right now, I am so fucking sick. I'm so fucking sick about how we keep siloing off our housing into different little piles and then calling it a day when I worked for a housing organisation that was specifically set up for Indigenous housing that the property manager wasn't putting Indigenous people in there because she was racist. She literally said she wasn't going to put them in there because she wanted the rent to be paid. So she told she hired a private property manager to go and just put anyone in there from the social housing wait list, which is all well and good, except this was housing specifically set aside for Indigenous people. And we went to find these people to give them support because we were specifically trying to help support Indigenous tenants, and found that there were no Indigenous people living at these Indigenous properties. And we did a full investigation on the whole thing, and it was like literally came out that, yeah, she'd literally been giving advice to just put tenants in who were actually going to pay the rent, when that's literally not what these houses were set up for. Literally not what the purpose of these properties were at all. So... And this is why, no, she didn't get fired. I did. I had to quit. I got pushed out of the organisation because I wouldn't be quiet about it, and I kept making noise. And I was in a meeting with this woman where I kept saying to her, "You are community housing. You don't get to just act like a property manager." And she goes, "We are not community housing. We are a private organisation." I was like, "We are community housing. Department of Communities is public housing. We are like community housing because we're a community organisation. We're a community-based organisation. This is community housing. We fall under the community housing barrier." And she's refused. Yeah, no, she absolutely refused. And it got to the point where I went in with the CEO and said, like, that this woman didn't know what she was doing. I'd worked as a property manager in private rentals. I've also worked in the tenancy space and in community housing for a long time. This woman has no idea what she was doing, and she was making things a lot worse for everyone. And I basically got told to get back in my box. I got this big email basically saying that I was overstepping what I was supposed to be doing. I was just supposed to go back to only supporting the tenants who needed support. These tenants were paying their bills, so they didn't need support. So why was I even trying to reach out to these tenants anyway? Like, because they might need support. Just because their bills are getting paid doesn't mean they don't need support in other ways. The number one reason that we had for people getting kicked out of community housing previously was for rubbish removal and for yard maintenance. So they might be paying all their bills, but they can't push a lawnmower around the lawn, and so the lawn's getting overgrown, and then they're going to get fines from the council. Then they're going to have to pay someone out here to come and chuck it down. And they're going to charge them through the nose because they're going to have to have weed whack the whole thing because it's so overgrown. And these things blow up into huge, big problems. So we go and support people we try and support them before things become a big problem so it doesn't snowball. So of course I would contact any person in community housing who was an Indigenous tenant who might benefit from support. Anyway, I ended up sending an email saying that I resigned because I couldn't work for an organisation where the CEO was more keen on protecting her own ego than she was on protecting the community. Yeah, I got steamrolled bad. I went... you're not meant to tell the truth, Tamara. How dare you? I know. Tell me about it. I actually went from work. I left work on a Tuesday afternoon at 3 p.m. and I went to the psych ward. I left work on a Tuesday afternoon and went to the psych ward because I had been fighting and pushing for so long, and I just cracked. And that's when I quit. I sent the email from the psych ward just being like, "I am out, fucking bitches." And they let me out of the psych ward once I quit. They were like, "Yeah, you're fine. You're just under an immense amount of stress that you don't need right now, so you should quit." And I did, and I was all right after that. And that's when I started trying to get Comco off the ground, started trying to organise our own non-for-profit that was specifically focusing on giving people what they need and not trying to make them fit what our supports could offer. Because so much of the time we expect people to, like, you can't have a certain amount of money in the bank and you can't be doing this and you can't be doing that, as people need support and help before they can get to the point where they're even allowed to get into some of these houses. Like, there's some houses where they're not allowed in there if they've got a history of drug use. And I'm sorry, but most people who become homeless and then go on to use drugs didn't start out as drug users. They become drug users to cope with being homeless. So insisting that someone gets off the substance they're using to cope with their situation before you're going to help them with their situation is just a bit fucked. It's just a bit fucked. And we could literally, for less than it costs us for 1 year's worth of payments on those fucking submarines, we could put wraparound supports around every single homeless person we have in this country to ensure that they had what they needed to be able to actually build up their lives and have a good life for themselves. We're just not interested in doing it because it wouldn't make us as much money as what we're currently doing. That's it. Oh, thank you so much, Red. Housing first, proven in Finland since 2008. Thank you, Kendall. Yes. I've got to get back to you today, actually, with your email. I saw your video. I'm trying to post a duet. I couldn't repost it, the video that you made, but I've done a little duet, so I'll post that. Absolutely. Thank you guys so much, honestly. Yep, you've been there too. Absolutely. And that's the thing, Lizzie. It gets to the point where, because you care so much, You care so we will spend on prisons, but won't spend on healthcare and housing. Yes, and I know you and I connected so much on this because of the healthcare and all of the costs that would be reduced if we gave people housing in all of these different areas. And I actually wanted to have a chat with you. I wanted to I should get you up on a live stream at some point before to talk about this at some point. I can't stand how councils are criminalising homelessness. Yes, it's becoming a big, big thing. Absolutely. So they are demonised for not paying rent, but also demonised for paying rent. Okay, yeah, exactly. How many do you see Comco getting? I'm hoping, what I am seeing is I'm seeing that, I'm seeing a proper community set up, because I don't think electoral politics is going to save us. I don't think electoral politics is going to do it. I'm running because I don't think we should completely dismiss it, but it's not going to save us. What's going to save us is our communities. We have so many of the solutions already, and I really want to encourage people, rather than joining the big political parties, rather than trying to join Labor or the Greens or the Libs or whoever, join a local community group. Find a local community group that's been set up by someone who had something that they were passionate about, whether it's, something that you were also passionate about. And get involved with them and see what you can do to help, because there'll sometimes be things you won't even realize. Like I've mentioned the mattress programs, and I've mentioned the other, the lawn mowing programs and other things that we've had. These ideas come from people. These ideas didn't come from CEOs. How are you going? Oh, community as in 100 or as in like 100,000? I'm thinking more like living on the community itself, probably a couple of thousand. But I'm hoping the support that we can give and the wider community that we have is more like 100,000, 200,000. What I really want is I want to be able to set up, first of all, a base of operations people can come to for immediate help and support. And even if the only thing I can offer you is a warm meal and somewhere to sleep for the night, I want to be able to offer that to people at least, and then try and help them up with other supports and services and things that we have, and build on it little bit by little bit by little bit. And one of the reasons that I'm talking with the Try a Trade program is because a lot of these young kids, and Lizzie, this is what I was going to talk to you about as well. A lot of the problems we have, every single perpetrator was a victim first. You do not get a perpetrator who was not first a victim. That does not mean that every single perpetrator that does not mean that every single victim will become a perpetrator. It just means that every perpetrator first starts out life as a victim. So when we have men who are in stressful environments with their girlfriends, their partners, and are acting violent and are acting aggressive, and then the only thing that the police do is show up, drag him out, dump him on a street corner somewhere and tell him he's on his own, what are we telling that person? We're telling them that their life has no value. What are we giving them that's going to make them want to change and do anything different? What are we doing that's showing them that there is a better way, there are other ways that they could handle things? Or we're so convinced that a perpetrator is nothing but a perpetrator. They stop being human in our eyes. We stop being willing to do anything for them. And I have worked, FDV is the number one reason for people becoming homeless in this country. You're going to make a difference in lives, mate. We all are. We're going to do it together. We are going to do it together. Absolutely, we are. I agree. The election is more distracted than action. We need community. Absolutely. Absolutely it is. Prisons work pretty much for free for private companies. They do. We have remove housing stress and you end up with a happier, healthier society. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. 100%, could not agree more. I missed you heaps too, PK, and this is why I'm coming back out on here every day. Even though I can't do it for very long at a time, I'm still trying to get on here so we can have these discussions and we keep reminding each other that we can help each other and we can build this community ourselves, because too often the solutions have to be accepted by everyone before we're willing to do them. And if you were to say to someone, I want to invest $1 million into help perpetrators of family domestic violence, they would say, no, we want to help victims, not perpetrators. But the number one issue I have with clients in housing stress with FDV is they're not interested in living separately a lot of the time. They want to live together. They're married. They've got kids together. They've got a life together. Their lives are entangled in each other's completely. And just because he blows up every other week and puts a hole through the wall isn't enough of a reason for her to leave sometimes. And that's not great. I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying coming in and saying to her, the only way we're willing to help you is if you leave and go live somewhere else, or if you let us take him away and make him go live somewhere else. You're going to get two people, neither of which are interested in engaging with you. If we can set up some kind of program that offers support to both perpetrators and victims, to help them live whichever way they want, whether that's together or separately, because people can get help and people can get better and people aren't automatically written off because they've done a bad thing. But and what really worries me about our society is the minute we label someone a criminal, we're suddenly just completely fine with destroying their lives without a second thought. We label someone a criminal and we're allowed to do whatever we want to them. And that might not sound scary, but just remember that they can make you a criminal for any number of fucking things. They could decide you're a criminal for any number of things. You could become a criminal tomorrow for doing something that was completely legal yesterday. Crime is time and space dependent, meaning live streaming online and talking about politics could become criminal tomorrow and I could find myself in jail. And then suddenly what, my rights no longer count? I'm no longer human because they've decided to place a label of criminal on me? When we I have to be. No, I actually do too. I'm just looking at the time and I'm like, I still remember a convo you and Rach had with me because I struggle with seeing, oh, yeah. And honestly, and that's completely understandable as well. People who have been victims of crimes directly from a person, you don't have to see your perpetrator in that way. You don't have to, the way you want to deal with your perpetrator as a victim is like, I'm completely 100%, individual people who have individual traumas needs to be, yeah, they find a crime to fit the person. Yeah, they do. They find a crime to fit the person. But individual people dealing with their individual perpetrators is a very, very personal thing. And I think we definitely need more support for victims of crime who are going through that process. But just perpetrators in general, like just in the general abstract conception of it, the way we talk about it. So much evidence that punishment doesn't have the same result as rehabilitation. It doesn't at all. It doesn't at all. Who are you, Rico? The adults are talking. Yeah. Why am I so mad about the adult crime, adult time stuff in Queensland? Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Doesn't even pay her own rent. Who doesn't pay her own rent? What are you talking about? I own my own home, but I did grow up in Alice Springs. You're literally a rich white woman. I'm actually not. I'm actually Indigenous. Yeah, I was going to mute him, but blocking's okay too. So I'm actually Indigenous and I was born in Kununurra, grew up in Alice Springs and currently live in regional Western Australia. So if you want to, and I was homeless 3 years ago. So if you want to use the word rich to describe me, I would agree. I think I'm plenty rich, but I'm definitely not what you're thinking of as rich. Let's just... Definitely not. But I do love it. I do love that you think I'm rich. That's... Oh, can you mod your new account? Yeah. Which one is it? Oh, is this one? Oh my gosh. Add as moderator. Manage guests and more. Confirm. There you go. You can do everything now. Gosh. No worries. I'm rich in items I didn't scan at the checkout. Yes, Lizzie, me too. I am rich in my children and my friends and my community and you guys who show up for me every fucking day. And I want to keep showing up for you guys as well. And that's something that this has really, really helped me with. Someone just called you a rich white woman. Oh my. I know. It has had an effect on the way I see things. Just want you to know that it was an important convo to me. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pika. And honestly, like I said, you were never human, Tam. Your godhood. You guys are good for my ego. This is really why I decided to come back on here. I just needed the ego boost. Absolutely. The irony in all the convos we have, and someone coming in and seeing you as a rich white woman. I know, really. But this is the thing I think people need to understand is that when the difference between when you're on the other side of that S trap, that poverty trap, I'm no longer I'm not in that poverty trap anymore. I've managed to get myself out of that poverty trap, and that is an impossibility. That is so impossible to do for people. Like, it is designed to be impossible. And somehow I managed to get myself out of that, and that does make me very wealthy. And I just don't understand why we have to keep putting up with that S-shaped fucking poverty trap when we don't need it. It actually isn't doing us any good. Oh. Sugar daddy bots are the worst, yeah. and I do love though. I do love though I remember even when I was younger, people would say that to me, like, you're so privileged. I've always been able to see my privilege. It's something that I think might even be a little bit too negative, being able to see my privilege. It has made me a little bit of a, those people who are like, no, you take it, I can do without, that's because, yeah, I was raised to be very, very aware of my privilege. And especially growing up in an Indigenous community with the skin tone that I have, yeah, I am very, very aware of my privilege. Very aware of my privilege. You don't grow up in Alice Springs with this kind of skin tone without knowing that there is a vast difference between you and the other kids in your class purely based on the amount of melanin that you have. And it's depressing. It's depressing. Like, yes, and yeah. Well, do you take care? Yes, definitely. And I'm getting a sweat happening. I'm getting a really bad sweat happening. So I'm going to have to go. I love you guys so, so much. I'm going to go strip. But we've done it. Another hour today. We've done a full hour of political discourse, of political chat. We've had a really good chat, I think, about not just about the upcoming election as well, but like about bigger issues in our communities and our societies that we want to change. Yes. It was wonderful being able to come on here and have a rant. Thanks for taking the time to do these lives. They're amazing. Thank you so much, friend. I will keep them up then. I will keep them up every day because I am loving it as well. And I'm really loving being able to come on and chat with you guys and again, it is because so much of the time too, when you're just scrolling through the timeline or you're just flicking through social media, you don't know what you're seeing. You're seeing a whole lot of other shit on there. So being able to actually sit down with a group of people who you know are going to be, you're going to be able to have a conversation with, you're going to be able to like get into these sorts of topics with, and you're going to be able to build on something together it's a relief for the heart. It is a relief for the heart. So thank you guys so much. Love you so, so, so much. I'm going to go throw up. Probably not. I'll probably be able to not do that, but I definitely need to find my water because I'm... Oh my gosh. Who wants to see the dog before I go? Have you guys seen the dog? Been feeling the appreciation for you even more today. I'm appreciating you very much today. Let me get the dog up here for you. Come here, Dandy. Dandy. Let me let you see. Let me show you the dog quickly before I go. Yeah, doggo. Come here. Come here. Come here, baby. She just had a bath this morning, so she's all clean. Whoop. Whoop. Here she is. She's a big teddy bear fluff ball. She's a big baby. She's a big baby. She's the chemo dog. Yes. Love you so much. I'm logging off now as well, PK, so you're not going to miss anything. Don't stress. She's my beautiful doggo. And she's been keeping me a lot of company. Doggo for PM. Yes, she's massive. She's a massive big pup. But she's lovely, aren't you? Hey. Yeah, she had a bath this morning, so she's all floofy. But she was so skinny when she first came out. She was so skinny when she first came out of the bath. All right, I love you guys so much. Thank you. Yeah, oh, Doggo. Doggo, she's a golden retriever Groodle. And she's flipping amazing. She's flipping amazing. And we're very, very lucky to have her. Very lucky to have her. All the best, you guys. Love you so much. Talk later. Have an amazing, amazing day. And I will see you again tomorrow. Tomorrow evening will be a later one. We're doing book club. We're going to talk about the book. Even if you haven't read it, it's okay. I'm going to talk about it anyway. And I love you guys. Thank you so much. See ya.